Everything we do revolves around money, but almost no one really knows what money actually is, who creates it, who profits from it, and why we've been made so dependent on it. To understand what's happening in the world right now, the disappearance of cash, the arrival of digital currency, basic income, the central bank currency, CBDC, you first need to know how it all began. A long time ago, people used to barter goods, grain or fish, labor or clothing. Early leaders discovered that you become more powerful when people stop trading directly and instead rely on a symbol of value. But what is that exactly? At first, those symbols were stones, shells, and metals. And then temples began keeping records of debts. And those were actually the first banks. From that moment on, money was no longer just a means, but a system of power. The priests of Babylon, and later the bankers of Rome, discovered something much greater. Interest, making money grow without labor. Those who borrow pay, and those who own win. In this way, debt became the engine of civilization. Freedom got a price tag. A few centuries later, families like the Rothschilds and the Warburgs perfected this system. They financed kings and wars, and they discovered something very important. Because whoever controls money also controls power. And that's a good thing to know if you want to have power. Their model, lending to states, collecting interest from peoples, became the blueprint for modern central banks like the ECB and the Federal Reserve. And then something very important actually happened. In 1971, President Nixon unlinked the dollar from gold. From that moment on, money could be created out of nothing. A loan from the bank was no longer existing money. It gets typed into a computer and is actually just fake. And you pay interest on something that never existed. So that's how the biggest bubble in our history grew, called debt. So it's good to know, because nowadays banks are no longer buildings but simply algorithms. Behind the scenes, a few asset managers form an invisible hand steering the economy. Names like Vanguard and BlackRock pop up everywhere. From energy to food, from media to pharmaceuticals. They don't literally own everything, but they manage almost everyone's capital. So the central banks, like the Federal Reserve in America and the ECB in Europe, create the foundation. They do this by providing cheap money. Commercial banks multiply that through loans. And the big funds send it back out into the world, packaged as, for example, stocks, bonds, and index funds. This way, our money is put into a closed loop where the same players always win everything, no matter what we vote for or believe in. And very importantly, as long as most people don't see through the system, it keeps running. And it's fueled by our labor, our fear, and our trust. Today, giants like Vanguard and BlackRock manage trillions. They don't just own everything, but they also vote on everything. Energy, media, food, pharmaceutical industry. Their influence lies in networks of capital, not in the names on the buildings. Central banks set the interest rates. Commercial banks create debt. And asset managers? They control companies. Do you get the structure a bit now? The pyramid is complete. And us? We're all the way at the bottom. What you're seeing happen now. Cash is disappearing. Bank branches are closing. Every transaction is becoming digital, and soon the next step will come. The programmable currency, free basic income linked to your digital identity. Convenience is bait, but control is the price. And now it's crucial that we start paying close attention, because we're standing on the edge of the final step. The central bank's digital currency, and they call it CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. A currency that isn't in your hand, but is an algorithm. And they say it will bring safety and convenience. But in reality, it links your money to your behavior and to your face. Programmable money means that every euro can come with a rule attached, where you're allowed to spend it, how long it's valid, and whether you even have the right to it at all. Combine that with a digital passport, a carbon dioxide budget, and a basic income that only works if you conform to their rules. And you simply have no freedom left. But you need their permission to do what you want with it. Yet the power doesn't lie with them, but with us. Because every system that is based on trust disappears as soon as that trust is broken. As soon as enough people understand what is happening, what is really going on, we can simply change the game. Not with violence, but with awareness, cooperation, and a new idea of value. Because honesty, connection, and human creativity are the foundation of our future. We are at a crossroads. One path leads to dependence and the other to awareness and freedom. Because money is not the cause of power, ignorance is the cause of power. Once we understand how the system works, we can stop feeding it. And true wealth begins where fear ends.